this face look annoyed? I'm annoyed. I am annoyed. So first things first, I said in my last video that I'd probably be in the mountains this week. Well, as you can see, I'm not in the mountains. In fact, I couldn't be further from the mountains because I'm down at sea level. And the reason for that is I'd completely forgotten that my son is going off to Paris at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning for a band tour for a week. And needed to get stuff ready, so didn't really have much time. So didn't have the time to go out and head for the mountains today. So I thought I'd do something relatively local. I'd come to Talacre Lighthouse, and last time I was here, my camera batteries ran out for all sorts of different reasons. Well, the reason I'm annoyed is the weather forecast said there was going to be broken cloud and potential, therefore, of a fantastic sunset. And it's just crappy grey clouds on the horizon at the moment. Now, I'm still about an hour away from sunset, so there could be a miracle and all those clouds could clear, but it doesn't feel like it. So what I was hoping for was something like that, but in the west. So obviously that's the east. If I had that clear sky in the west now, I'd be getting lovely light up on the clouds, but I'm not getting that at all. I've got just floor to sky grey clouds, so I'm a bit annoyed, but I'm trying to make the best of a bad situation. There's the lighthouse. In my previous video the tide was quite high in, tide's well out, and I'm just looking now at compositions to try and make the most of the situation. So something with this pool in the foreground, lighthouse on the left hand side of the image, and then some of the sky. But I've only just got here, so gonna have a bit of a play about and see what I can do and hope for a miracle. I think I'm cursed. So last time I came to Talacre Lighthouse, all the batteries in my camera died because the charger wasn't working properly. This time, no sunset. Really annoyed. So look that way, that's perfect. Look that way, that's crap. So really frustrated. I'm not a million miles from home, so I live over there. So as the crow flies, I'm probably 4 or 5 miles, but it's a long drive round. But it's really difficult to get anything. On the positive side, a guy just walked up, he was walking his dog, asked me if I took photographs for money. Nothing, no, not that type of photographs for money. So he's going to send me, so he's got some building work he's doing or something, and he wants to get some professional photos taken. So anyway, I'm going to send him some details. So that might, something might come out of that, but it sounds dodgy. So what I'm going to try and do is put my heaviest filter in and see if I can get, there's a little bit of wind, so the clouds are moving slowly. So see the longest shutter speed I can get and see if I can get some of the cloud in a blur. It's about half an hour till sunset, and it just does not look as if anything's going to happen. So best I can hope for is to kind of make something out of it. I quite like the striations. Ooh, striations, big words. I quite like the striations of the clouds heading in that direction behind the lighthouse, but it's not what I came for. But I'm going to put a heavy filter in, and then I'll come back and let's see what we can get up to. Still half an hour from sunset, but it already feels gloomy. This cloud is really thick. I'm hoping, wishing that as the sun gets down closer to the horizon, there might be kind of a momentary kind of hole in the cloud and a kind of beam through. But kind of while I'm waiting for that, I've put in my kind of darkest filter, so it's given me an extra 6 stops. So I'll show you what I'm doing. I'll lighten this so you can look at the composition. So Pointing that the wrong way. What I'm doing is got the lighthouse on the left-hand rule of thirds. Quite a simple composition. Got this water in the foreground. Obviously the clouds with those striations I mentioned earlier. Quite blue and gloomy. And as you can probably see, I've gone to f/22 just to give me a really small aperture, and with the filter on, there's not much light getting into the camera, so that's given me an exposure of 25 seconds. So I don't have my remote shutter release with me, it's in the car. So just a little tip, I'm using the 2-second timer, so when I press, it'll take after 2 seconds, so it's now taking a 25-second exposure, and we'll see what they turn out like, but I'll keep working on them. While I'm waiting for a miracle to happen, I thought I'd talk a little bit about white balance, because this is a good example of when you might need to alter white balance. So if you look, well, a good example, I'll just show you. Go to the settings on your camera, and white balance is about the color temperature of the light, ranging from kind of obviously warm, where you get those oranges and golds, to the other end of the spectrum where you get those kind of blues that you get in kind of the winter, or actually in circumstances like this, blues and greys. And most cameras give you an opportunity to alter the white balance. In fact, I think you can even do it on your phone. But you've got a couple of settings. You know, you've got kind of auto white balance. Let's just run through them. Auto white balance, daylight, shade, cloudy, tungsten, obviously that's kind of indoors. Fluorescent, who uses fluorescent lights anymore? Obviously flash, and then you can customize it. But I just thought I'd show you, I've taken a couple of images with, this one was taken with auto white balance, and you can see there's fairly blue, there's a little bit of kind of orange in the distance. I then switched to shade, and it goes very, very blue. Which I'd have to, that just doesn't look natural, so I'd have to correct that. And then I went to custom white balance and set it around 7,500 Kelvin, which is just above the kind of the auto setting for shade, and that looks more natural. So typically on a normal landscape shot, on a bright summer's day, auto white balance normally works quite well. But in circumstances like this, because it's so grey and kind of with so much blue, it's always worthwhile just having a little bit of a fiddle around with the white balance. I've moved a little bit closer to the lighthouse, just on the basis I'm trying to make the best of a bad situation. And I wanted dramatic skies, not getting them. I'm never coming back here again. I'm cursed, I'm never coming back again. But I've just moved location on the basis that there's this big pool that's sweeping around to the lighthouse. Oh, and by the way, in the final images, if the lighthouse looks as if it's leaning, that's nothing to do with lens distortion. The lighthouse is leaning. So it's got a bit of a tilt on. Apparently it's just been bought for £100,000 by someone, but it's got a bit of a tilt on, so it's not lens distortion, that it does actually lean. But there's this, I'll show you there's this big pond pool sweeping round to the lighthouse. Sky is a little bit kind of dramatic because it's kind of dark and moody, but I'll show you the composition. I've got the water right in the middle, and the lighthouse off to the left, and what I'm hoping is that kind of makes a relatively nice composition. But I'll wait and see when I process it. It might turn into a black and white, that one. But just turn that off. It's not been a huge, it didn't take me a long time. It took me about, why was I pointing you off there? It took me about maybe 45 minutes to get here. But it's just annoying when things don't turn out the way you hope. But I'm trying to make the best of it. But I'm trying to use this water. That was a 20-second exposure. Let's just see what it's given me. Yeah, 20-second exposure on f11, and I'm focused on the lighthouse. So hopefully something dramatic. I don't think it's going to be an award winner though, but there's nobody else left on the beach. So I'm all by myself, and I might pack up because I think the sun is well and truly down. Just going to check. Yeah, it went down 2 minutes ago in a blaze of nothing. Might take 1 or 2 more, but then walk back to the car and I'll be done. All done and heading back, and the tide is on the way in. So I don't know if that pool I was shooting before, it's turned into quite a channel, and that will work its way around and to the lighthouse. So one of those days. The forecasted sunset never happened, and it's irritating because yesterday I was over there on the Wirral, and the sunset was absolutely glorious. I was walking the dog, and it was just a stunner of a sunset. I think I took some photos with my phone. I'll pop it in somewhere so you can see it. But it was a stunner. So 24 hours later, was forecast to be the same, but never happened. But on the plus side, if Martin hadn't been going on his tour, I would have been down in Snowdonia today, and I probably would have had a nice time out in the hills, but I would have been even more annoyed to have kind of driven 2.5 hours and not come up back with anything. So, sorry it's not what was anticipated. I hopefully gave you a few tips. Probably quite a short video today, but be interested in any comments that you might have, and I'll let you know how I get on with that with a guy asking me if I could take any photos, and let's see what happens next time. I'm not going to make any promises what I do for the next one, because I've learnt my lesson, but I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learnt a few things, and hopefully you tune into the next one, and I'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye.